We are live. We are live. Welcome to College Footballs. Peek around the corner with your host, Greg Flugar. We cover everything in college football because we love everything in college football. And if you do as well, please subscribe to our ever-growing channel. Smash the like button. If you like our content, share the video with your family and friends. If you want to donate to this Rebel Outpost channel, just hit the $ when you put a comment in and we'll get you a super chat. As quick as possible. Welcome into the studio that sits on the very corner of Keith Jackson Parkway in Kurt Gowdy Avenue. Do not be afraid to be a legend. With your comments in the chat room and with your phone calls later in the show. No leakage. No leakage. No leakage out of CFP. Now, maybe they haven't had any official Zoom calls, but they've been talking. We know that. No leakage. What does that mean? Nobody's using the media here the last 2 days to push an agenda. What does that mean? I'm gonna choose. I don't know this for sure. No, nobody has said to me, Greg, I think this means that, ABC. I'm going to take this as a little drop of optimism that things might be moving in a direction of getting things done. No leakage. It means they're working. And nobody is using the media right now. Now, that could all change. That could all blow up. Keep your head on a swivel during tonight's live show. We could have breaking news. If we do, let me know in the chat. Let me know in the chat. Okay. We got a couple major breaking news. What? Not breaking news, but a couple things I want to talk about tonight. One is we've got breaking news on the Friday night games, right? We all anticipated this. When Washington and Oregon, which we were reporting to you, that either they're going to become Big Ten members, if all these things happen, if Kevin Warren would get fired or left, he'd left. And if the Big 12 was able to crack open the Pac-12 a couple times, which they did, then Oregon and Washington would become members of the Big Ten. And then we all speculated, this probably means Fox Big Ten games on Friday night. Not only does it mean that, it also means the Mountain West Conference and the Big 12 will also have Friday night games on Fox. Now, before we get into this, I get it. I know. I was talking to Big Ten Ted on X. He doesn't like the idea of Friday night games. A lot of people don't. A lot of these big-time schools, big-time football programs, they're not going to have home games on Friday night. They don't care if Fox is covering it or if it's FS1. Doesn't mean any difference to them. But there are a lot of us schools that have done Friday night games, will continue to have Friday night games, would love to have Friday night games because we want that little bit sliver of extra exposure. But the big time programs, they don't need it. They don't want it. they say you can have it. But for the Mountain West Conference and the Big 12, this is great news. It is. I'm sorry. I know college football YouTube channels like to bring the bad news. This is great news. I get it. It's Friday night. You want to go to your high school football game. You want to take the lady out for a night out. I get all that. I get it. But for a football crazed individual like myself, I love it. Number one, if Fox puts their muscle behind this, if they go all in on this, and I think they will, on their Friday night presentation on Fox Sports, we're not just talking FS1, we're talking Big Fox. If they put their muscle behind this, if they advertise it, market it, brand it, give it a name, have big time people come on, be interviewed, big time production, and I think all that's going to happen, who knows what number they can pop? Who knows in a few years what type of exposure this will bring? Who knows? This might be the best thing that has happened to the Mountain West Conference. It could be a big lift to the Big 12. It could be a lift for some of those Big 10 teams. Again, this is not, yes, there's been Friday Night Football for a long time, but on Fox, Big Fox, I think I'm very interested in this. Now, we're going to go through an article here in a little bit from Andrew Graham. Going to go through a short article. I read Andrew Michon's article on The Athletic on this. And they're going to have, I believe, some decisions on what games, like what that Friday night schedule is going to look like in 2024 in May. So we're going to have to wait a couple months. But in May, it sounds like we're going to get some sort of schedule. Now, I was given, where is that? Oh boy. Here we go. I was given a few games, somebody in the industry, a few games to look out for that could be moved, that could be a Friday Fox game. Week 0, if Fox wanted to come right out of the gate, SMU at Nevada. I was also told that Boise State at UNLV, which is right now a Saturday game, I believe that's October 26th, was told that could be a Friday game. Again, none of this is official. Relayed some information when this news broke. New Mexico at San Diego State could become a Friday night game. West Virginia at Oklahoma State on October 5th, and Houston at Kansas, October 19th. Those could be Friday night games. Now, of course, literally any of them, almost all of them could be Friday night games. Those were some of the games that we were given here in a conversation. But nothing official. We're not reporting that. Just let that marinate for a bit. I want to talk, we'll get into the Friday night story, but I got to fill up my Cloak and Dagger mug here. Hold on. I got to fill up my Cloak and Dagger mug. Again, you can get this Cloak and Dagger mug. Go to the link provided in the description. Go to our merchandise store. We're going to add some items here real soon with the new logo. There's my official mug. There's my trucker hat. Okay. We're going to talk Notre Dame. We are going to talk Notre Dame. Now, I want to thank everybody first who's come on in. Anthony Carlson, what now? Early Peak member is in the house. Struthers, Nathan Campbell, Jay Go Blue, Jimmy is in the house. Randy Taylor, Swivel Time. The Walking Geek is in the house. Richard L, always something happening at PATC. Our Web is in the house. Tough Tony. Friday prime time for Goldie. I know. PJ Fleck would not decline it. He wouldn't decline it. The Architect is in the house. Jane Chapman, Wilson, Neeson, Atwood. Holy smokes. Coy is in the house. MGC Sooner. Bearcat Steve. Big Ten fan is in the house. James Foster, Arizona State Sun Devils. Gary's in the house. Camden B, Rock, Chalk, Jayhawk, Heartbreak 25 is in the house. Almighty Finn is in the house. Congo, preseason champions, Ohio. OHIO, Big Ten. Holy smokes. Two King Slots has come on in early. Jimmy is in here early. Jamie Thornton. Hi, everyone. Mrs. Arkansas Razorback. Tumasta. RFR is here. The Evil Badger. Ryan, Willie, Friday nights are for high schools. Yes, they are, but it's the horse is out of the barn, and the horse is basically trotted 5,000 miles away from the barn at this point. NE is in the house. Daniel Montcastle is in the house. Daniel, I'm going to use it again. I used your, you tweeted out something I forgot about long ago about Notre Dame. I went into it in our early peak Cloak and Dagger episode this morning. If you remember, we're dropping early peak Cloak and Dagger episodes from members only. Okay, just now, Coy gifted a membership once again. The incredible generosity of Coy. Holy smokes. You hereby are Cloak and Dagger knighted once again, Coy. And look at this. Soap was gifted a membership by Coy. Soap, you are hereby knighted Cloak and Dagger. Holy smokes. But thank you so much, Coy. Thank you so very much for your unbelievable generosity to this channel. Keeping the lights on. Daniel Montcastle, I stole your tweet from yesterday about Notre Dame, and I used it for the early peak Cloak and Dagger episode, and we're going to talk about it live. As part of our discussion in and around Notre Dame, I have not, for those who've been following us since August 2022, I have not spoken a lot on Notre Dame. Now, I keep saying the walls are closing in on them. In the Los Angeles Times article, people that we were talking to thought that Notre Dame would flip the switch. Because that, right after that USC wanted Notre Dame to join. I know Mike Bone, there were people talking. I'll leave it at that. Gave away a little bit too much there. People were talking. That is when Notre Dame had the most leverage, but it did not happen. And since then, I haven't. Once in a while, I talk about Notre Dame. The walls are closing in. So many reports out there saying Notre Dame is imminent to the Big Ten. We're not hearing any of that, and we're still not hearing any of that. However, there's a lot of talking right now about what happened in the Dartmouth case is probably eventually going to affect everybody. But it's going to affect Notre Dame the most likely. Notre Dame football program will be affected by this. And it's quite interesting. That hasn't been really, if it has, I've missed it. I've been really busy lately trying to get my health back. Been really busy. So maybe there's been big interviews about it, people talking about it. I haven't seen it. I haven't read it. Nobody has sent it to me. But the Dartmouth case, NLRB, National Labor Relations Board, Dartmouth pushed back and said, why us? Why? We don't even make any money on basketball. I don't know. Dartmouth loses like $1 million a year. They don't make money. The Ivy League doesn't have these big media contracts. Their value in the media, they're not. It's just part of their academic experience. I mean, Dartmouth might just bring their basketball program down to a club level, but that's not the point of the show tonight. The point of the show tonight is if this could have happened to basically anybody. It's happening right now, and don't get it twisted. We've been saying since episode number 1 of the show that the student athletes are going to become employees and it's going to be a collective bargain agreement. This was the only way out. I've been pounding the table for 18 months on this. So don't get me wrong. This is where I think it needs to go. Maybe not in this way, but whatever. And I know a lot of people disagree with me, but we have been way out in front of this. It's why I'm waiting for Tony Petitti and Sankey to give us a vision. Talk about this, but they don't. But anyways. But and people are saying, well, it happened in the Ivy League because they're all independent programs. And this was a case between NLRB versus the university, Dartmouth. In the USC case, which is going to blow the doors open all over the place, it was USC, it's NLRB versus USC versus NCAA versus PAC. They're covering the whole spectrum. The case, the National Labor Relations Board was saying that the Dartmouth, the players, that the staff, the coaches, the university have basically a whole lot of control over these players. They have to put in so much time, practice time, game time, travel time, and they should be paid like employees. Dartmouth wasn't the lowest hanging fruit here. They were one of the highest hanging fruits. And I think that's going to become common knowledge after we find out what happens with the USC case. The Pac-12, NCAA versus NLRB. So, Notre Dame just like everybody else. I think it's going to come to a time where it's not going to really matter if you're private or public. But when it comes to negotiation time, when it comes to collective bargaining agreement time, that we believe has since August 10th, 2022, our very first episode, I think this is going to affect Notre Dame more than anybody that I can think of. Let's get to and before that, I just want to thank everybody for coming on in this Thursday, March 7th. I just gifted Kill Ball, 2 King Slots, awesome clips, D's Future, Recruit Talk, and Bob's Reality. You all were just gifted a membership for our Peek Around the Corner, membership-only videos, episodes you can watch. All 5 of you are hereby knighted, cloak and dagger. Congratulations. Now, let's get to we're going to hit the Notre Dame piece first. I want to talk about it. And then the Friday games. Friday night games, Big 10, Mountain West Conference, Big 12. I'm going to read your comments, going to read your super chats first. We're going to open up the phone lines. And I talked about this. On our membership-only episodes. I dropped one this morning, episode 26, members only. If you want to become a member, just go to the link in the description box, hit the link, and hit the join button and become an early peak member. University of Notre Dame, this is what Daniel Montcastle put down, and I'd forgotten this. Put it on his X account. I talked about it this morning. University of Notre Dame, Big 10 Plus, News and Marketing Directors Conference. What is this about? The Big 10 Plus Communications and Marketing Coalition is composed of leaders and staff from 14 universities of the Big 10 Conference, plus the University of Notre Dame, Rice University. And I'll get back to Rice here in a moment. I want to circle back to them, just like I did early in our episode this morning. Washington University in St. Louis, the University of Chicago, and the University of Illinois Chicago. In addition, Carnegie Mellon, this was 2023 conference. They came in as observers. They might become members. For more than 30 years, Big 10 Plus has convened to bring together these professionals who promote institutions of similar size and scope. This has been around for 30 years. Now, what do? The bottom one is the most important. The objectives of the group are to share best practices among communications professionals from leadership research universities in the Big Ten and other institutions. Provide an annual professional development opportunity for staff at a cost lower than typically found. Network with communicators and marketers who face similar challenges. And here's the big one. Collaborate on stories. Brand, market, communication, get the word out. Collaborate on stories in which 2 or more member universities of this coalition may be working together on research, service, or other initiatives, but the big one is research. So when 2 of these schools coalition, when a Purdue and Notre Dame lines up, when a Rice and Illinois lines up, when they do research together, two or more. They work on the branding, the targeting. You remember, these research universities, not only do they want to grab the best students in the country and the world, but they also want to grab the research dollars coming out of the federal government and other places, but that federal money is important. This is a coalition that's been around for over 30 years. The member institutions, Indiana, Michigan State, Northwestern, Penn State, Purdue, Rice, we'll get back to Rice here in a moment, Rutgers, the Ohio State, University of Chicago, University of Illinois, Urbana-Champaign, Iowa, Maryland, Michigan, Minnesota, Nebraska, Notre Dame, Wisconsin, Washington University in St. Louis, in the Observer in 2023 was Carnegie Mellon University. And in that 23, that was the last one they had, right? A convention. That coalition meeting once again. One of the agenda items was Michigan and Notre Dame. Michigan and Notre Dame together presenting something. That was not listed on the 2023 agenda. So take a look at that if you get a chance. But anyways, so Michigan and Notre Dame, they can share the same stage when it comes to research, academia. I bring all this up because relationships are important. And I've said this before. I haven't talked a whole lot about Notre Dame in the last year. For good reason. Because nothing was happening. Notre Dame and the Big Ten, they always talk with each other. They have. So when somebody says, ooh, they're talking with each other, have them tell you specifically what are they talking about. Back in 2015, I specifically reported, it's very difficult to imagine, but according to source, Delaney is again going down Notre Dame rabbit hole to try to bring Notre Dame hockey to the Big Ten. This was November 18th, 2015. And I made a few more tweets around that day that the Irish and the Big Ten were dancing on ice. They were doing the do-si-do. They're trying to figure it out. And then a few months later, early in the next year, March 23rd, 2016, great news. Don Lucia, Minnesota. Minnesota was a big part of getting Notre Dame into the Big Ten. Minnesota acquiesced. Minnesota wanted this to happen, so it happened. Great news, makes the Big Ten a stronger conference. Welcome, Notre Dame men's hockey. Okay, so soon after that, early 2017, I made a few comments, had a few conversations, talked about it on 247 about Rice. There were conversations between Rice and the Big Ten in regards to Rice baseball becoming an affiliate member of the Big Ten. Never knew how far those talks went. Was told, and I reported at the time, it was Rice that walked away. Maybe the Big Ten would eventually walk away. I don't know. But it was Rice that took the action of, we're not interested. Now, are those talks ever going to resume again? I don't know. Big Ten has just expanded, added a whole bunch of baseball programs. Now they're out in California. I don't know. Maybe. Probably not. But there were talks. And again, Rice is part of this coalition. Again, this is not a real important coalition, but it's been around for a long, long time. I'm just giving you an example that relationships matter when it comes to conference realignment. It matters. I brought up the North Carolina And the Big Ten have been talking for a very long time. Delaney talked with North Carolina forever. Does that relationship matter as much as it did before? Because, the Board of Regents and our reporting to you, it leans SEC. The Board of Governors in the state of North Carolina leans even more SEC. Mike Gusowich, he left on his own. The former chancellor went to Michigan State, but they threw enough rocks at him that he decided he wanted to go. So has the SEC cut off communication from North Carolina and the Big Ten? Probably not. Probably not. But it is a different landscape than it was just a couple years ago, over the last 15 years. Now, we talk about relationships between Florida State and the SEC, Florida State and ESPN. It's bad. We all know it's bad, bad, bad. And that makes a difference. It does. Relationships matter. The piece that we're sort of missing is the relationship between Florida State's president, Richard McAuliffe, and the Big Ten. But Florida State, in their public talks, what the Board of Trustees have said, wanting to become more national, wanting to invest more in research, saying that, yes, travel is important, but, and there's always a but when they talk about it. You got Richard McAuliffe, the leader of Florida State University, in Washington, D.C. today. He met with the two senators of Florida, Marco Rubio and Scott, and he's talking about Florida State wanting to be this monster, basically, of a research university. Relationships matter. Florida State is making every indication out there where they want to go. And I think it's been reciprocated in third party, not first party. Big Ten's not going to touch it with an email, with a text message, even with a traceable phone call. But I think both parties know where both parties are at. I think both parties know, for sure. Relationships matter. I wanted just to bring this up so people start thinking about not just where I'm just going to leave it at that. Relationships. Now, Dartmouth. Again. The Dartmouth case, and I can completely understand all the speculation. We're speculating tonight. I am. It's a huge case. But one of the, so I'm having this conversation. And I'm bringing up scenarios to this person on the other end of the phone line, who I would say is in the industry. And I'm just bringing up scenarios, whatever. And the conversation came back to me as, why haven't you brought Notre Dame up? This case could have been brought up against Notre Dame. Independent football program. Players they travel nationally. A lot of their time goes into the football program. It could have been an NLRB versus Notre Dame as it was NLRB versus Dartmouth. Notre Dame has no what we deemed protections because there are public universities in their football conference. They're not a member of a football conference. But the main point that this person in the industry was trying to get through my thick skull is the following. It is very hard to imagine if the football players, basketball players, let's just keep it with, because this is a big subject and we can get lost in the deep weeds on this. Let's just stick with football and basketball. Revenue making sports. I know there are other revenue making sports for particular universities, but let's just keep it simple. Revenue making sports like basketball and football. If this thing replicates, and there's really no reason why it shouldn't. And again, we're going to learn a lot pretty soon here about the NLRB versus USC, PAC, and NCAA. If all of these student athletes in the revenue making sports, we're going to keep it like that, have the ability to unionize, to have the ability to get out of amateurism officially, and get paid, have a collective bargaining, become represented by a union. It's been told to me through my thick skull that these conferences are going to work so hard to make it that the conference is negotiating with the union. All the universities under the umbrella of the conference is going to be negotiating with a union. And I don't want to get too much in the details because I wasn't smart enough to understand it all. But as it was described to me, this is something that Ohio State would want. This is something that Michigan would want. Now, we're gaming this out a little bit here, okay? But other people are gaming it out. So be patient. This is a scenario in which with Penn State, Ohio State, and Michigan, the universities that bring in the most revenue into the athletic department have the most power. They want to spread out. They want to have negotiations using the whole conference. They want the teams they want to be able to present as a conference-wide. This is how much we can afford. This is how much we're willing to bargain. This is like the NFL, like MLB. MLB, Major League Baseball, going against the most powerful player union in all of professional sports, in Major League Baseball, where they can't get a cap, they can't get a whatever. They're not negotiating by just using the Yankees and the Dodgers numbers, right? They're using everybody's numbers, combine it all. Okay? So there is comfort, there is protection. It's just so much better. It's going to be so much better for the conference, the Big Ten, the SEC, the Big 12. The Big 12 isn't going to want the Big Ten negotiating a collective bargaining agreement to a union for Big 12 schools. Big 12 is not going to want that. So the future, as being told to me by somebody who reports on these matters, is saying the conferences, plus they've been legitimized by the courts thus far, right? It's going to be the conferences. So Notre Dame, that world and where they're negotiating a collective bargaining agreement with their football players, it's just more difficult for them. It's going to be more difficult for them than, let's say, Ohio State and Michigan and Penn State. Again, I'm not smart enough to figure out everything that was told to me. But the walls continue to close in on Notre Dame. And a lot of Fighting Irish fans get mad at me every time I say it. And no, I have not heard of anything imminent. I don't believe anything is imminent. I think Notre Dame is waiting on Florida State versus ACC, just like everybody else. But when I'm bringing up this Dartmouth case to this person, and I'm bringing up scenarios, I brought up immaculate scenario of the ACC, some private schools combined with the Ivy League, and brought up USC going to the Big Ten. I brought up a whole bunch of stuff. And then he said, why haven't you brought up Notre Dame, which is going to be affected maybe more than anybody else? Because eventually, if this all goes down the way we think it's going to go down, where you got it sitting in the table between the players, the representation, the union of the players, for Notre Dame, they're going to be in a tougher spot than in Alabama. That's how it was explained to me. They're going to be in a tougher spot than a Tennessee. They're going to be in a tougher spot than an Auburn, than a Wolverine, than a Nittany Lion, than a Badger. So, just another log on the fire on what Notre Dame is going up against. The conferences are going. The conferences could do things that Notre Dame could never do as part of the negotiations. You know, the Big Ten could throw up a whole bunch of sponsors and the players get a cut of it, and medical stuff, and who knows. But because the conferences, you know, they gain a war chest, they get some of the money, it's just going to be a lot more difficult for Notre Dame than ever before. And the Dartmouth case, NLRB, is just another log on the fire on that. Okay, I will get to your comments here. The USC, the NLRB versus USC PAC NCAA could blow the Dartmouth case out of the water. The NLRB isn't just going against USC. It's actually going against the conference and NCAA, saying that the USC football players should have representation, they should be getting paid, they should, you know, all that stuff. They should be able to form a union. Okay. Now, before I get to your comments and phone calls, Fox to broadcast weekly Friday night college football game 2024. Andrew Graham. Fox will broadcast a college football game in prime time slot on Friday night each week this upcoming season, according to The Athletic's Andrew Marchand. The network announced the news shortly after the report. The games will feature teams from the Big Ten, Big 12, Mountain West. All leagues that Fox has existing broadcast rights agreements with. The game schedule, which is collectively worked out by the networks annually in May, has yet to be decided, and therefore Fox doesn't have a prospective slate for Friday featured games. So, like I said at the beginning of the show, hopefully we'll know by May. I got a list of some of the games. I'll go through them real fast. Some of the games here that might be moved to that Friday. SMU at Nevada, Boise State at UNLV, New Mexico at San Diego State in November, West Virginia, Oklahoma State, October 5th. Might be moved to October 4th. Houston versus Kansas, October 19th. Might be moved to October 18th. Again, completely not official at all. Just some of the games that a person was speculating with me on. Fox's football and our new Friday night package will make Fox the leader in America's game throughout the weekend. Fox president of Insight Analytics, Michael Mulvill, said in a release announcing the programming, "We build our collegiate business by seizing opportunities in previously underutilized time slots, first with Big Noon Saturday, and now on Friday nights. Our goal this fall is to have the #1 college football game on both Fridays and Saturdays and top the NFL on Sundays. Fox Sports looking for a clean sweep." And the new featured games on Friday night aren't going to usurp the Big Noon Saturday. No way. No way. Game that Fox has built up around its pregame show. Big Noon Kickoff, according to Marchand. In the release, Fox noted that its noon games have included the most watched single game each of the past 3 seasons. And in 2023, the Big Noon game averaged just more than 6.7 million viewers a week, the best season on record for the programming. And I think it's only going to get bigger. And I would expect after this expansion, I would expect CBS numbers. This is going to be their first full year with the Big Ten, but especially the NBC numbers to shoot upward when it comes to ratings. One of the biggest consistent ratings bonanza for Fox in that noon slot is the clash between Michigan and Ohio State, the game. Each of the past 3 seasons, that game has turned monster ratings as the Wolverines and the Buckeyes competed with the Big Ten title game berth and the college football playoff stakes on the line. And finally in the article, the real estate to broadcast games on Friday night recently came open for Fox. Marchand noted, as the networks didn't renew rights to broadcast WWE on Friday nights. Also in the article, Marchand said that Fox expects the ratings for the Friday night games to be higher than WWE ratings, but however, WWE was on Fox Friday night for 52 weeks of the year, and this college football on Friday nights is only going to be on for 3 months. So, anyway, so that's Friday night football. We've talked Notre Dame. One other thing that has come into my DMs that I've got to talk. Someone sent me this. I'm not going to pull it up, I don't think. Someone sent me that the Utah Utes did not sign a 99-year the Big 12 bylaws where they that 99-year thing, and it absolutely means nothing. That 99-year thing doesn't mean squat. So I'm not going to waste my time on that. It didn't mean squat when Oklahoma and Texas were trying to lead. It was about the gore. It was about an exit fee gore. There was no 99 year. It's just jargon. It means nothing. So I'm not going to go down that road. I just want to let you all know some people are making a big deal of it. It just isn't. It just doesn't mean anything. Okay, let me get to the chat. And we're going to open up the phone lines. Let's open up those phone lines right now. You can talk about anything, college football, anything we've talked about tonight, anything you want to talk about. Last night on our live show, we talked college football, baby. We talked Ohio State quarterback room. I put out my top 25. My way too early March top 25. Georgia number 1, Buckeyes number 2, Texas number 3, Oregon number 4. If you haven't seen it, go back last night, give it a watch. I love that show because we talked college football, the whole live show. It was absolutely fantastic. So give it a watch if you get a chance. Phone lines are open. The future is bright for the Big 12. And again, you know, Fox, we've talked about it. Fox Sports has a big investment in the Big 12. With football, with basketball. They have more of the contract in basketball. ESPN has more of it in football. But the Big 12 has, ESPN and Fox has a big investment in the Big 12. Not as big as SEC. ESPN has way bigger investment in SEC. But they do have a big investment in Big 12 content. Fox Sports trying to make that Friday night thing a big deal, and I would not bet against Fox Sports. Big 12 is a part of that. They're going to be a big part of that. So, do you really think, again, I got to ask this question, because somebody has to. Somebody has to shoot it to you straight. Do you really think that Fox Sports is calling Tony Petitti and say, I really want you to push the Big 12 and the ACC at the negotiation table. I really want you to make it so they cannot accept. So then we can break away from the Big 12. That the Big 10 and the SEC completely breaks away from the Big 12 and the ACC right now, starting in 2026. Do you really think that's the message that Fox Sports is giving to Tony Petitti? I think what Fox Sports is telling Tony Petitti is, get as much as you can. We want that Big 10, that conference games in November, to be as valuable as possible. We want all eyes on the conference race. I think this news of today, let me know if you think I'm wrong, but Fox to broadcast weekly Friday night college football game, Big 12, there's a lot of money at stake. There's a lot of money at stake. They want that advertiser money. And the Big 12 is a part of it. Big 12 is a part of it. So yeah, I don't know. If somebody would tell me behind the curtain, behind this, if I would get a phone, if I would get any little nugget of information saying, you know, the Big 10, SEC, they're about to say bye-bye to everybody. They're about to only have their only playoffs. Big 10, SEC. Only a 12-team playoffs with just Big 10, SEC. I would at least give that nugget of information up. I would report it to you. Not as fact, but as something. Saying to you, somebody told me this. I haven't gotten anything. You remember that whole Colorado? Well, you know, I talked about it daily because the information was just overflowing, overwhelming. That Colorado was looking to break away, that they weren't getting, that they were less and less confident that Kliavkoff could bring in a contract, a media contract that they all could sign and Colorado's the tip of the spear. I mean, that was overwhelming evidence, and yet people did not believe it. Now people are believing something in which there is no evidence that I can find. I'll keep looking, but no evidence I can find.
Call from
Steve-O.
Steve-O, the floor is yours. How you doing, sir?
Hey, how you doing? Eric Shanks, Jimmy Pitaro, ESPN.
Okay, well, nice to hear from you again.
Hey, if you remember, Eric, last week I said we need to work on ways to strengthen the Big 12.
Yes.
And I don't think you like my idea too well of you not taking Florida State. But I tell you, Notre Dame's coming around for you. And here in the SEC, we're really only interested in adding 2 schools. And I'm going to just lay you my plan out. What do you think? How you would think about strengthening the Big 12 by getting Florida State and Clemson in the Big 12?
What was that?
Getting Florida State and Clemson in the Big 12. Along with a couple others.
The Fox says no.
Well,
Fox says no until...
You're Fox.
Yeah, I know. I'm saying no. And Florida State says no, too, because... Well, anyways, Fox says
Florida
no.
State's going to do what you tell them.
Fox says no until we find out what happens with Notre Dame and North Carolina.
Well, yes, that'd be a part of the whole equation.
Got it.
But you'd mentioned if you didn't get Florida State, maybe Miami, along with Notre Dame. And here in the SEC, we're interested in North Carolina and Kansas. And to do, with the North Carolina thing, we could put North Carolina State in the Big 12, take care of the government issue in North Carolina. So you got Florida State, Clemson, Louisville, North Carolina, or Virginia Tech. Or North Carolina State.
The Big Ten would take Notre Dame and Florida State over Notre Dame and Miami.
Okay. But that's not really strengthening the Big 12.
I
put Florida State in there.
Yeah, but as Fox, we love the Big 12. We got a lot of investment in them. We want to make better. We want to be able to charge more to our advertisers for their content. But the big dog that we have is the Big 10, and we're gonna if the Big 10 is calling us up and says we want Florida State, and we give them an evaluation that's higher for Florida State, it's going to be Florida State to the Big 10 versus Miami to the Big 10.
So you don't think the valuation of Miami is going to be as high as Florida State?
No,
even though
not
they're
for the
AAU.
Big. No, not for the Big 10. Nope.
Okay, but you're lowering the valuation of the Big 12 by having Miami go in the Big 12 rather than Florida State.
Well, we own 61% of the Big 10 network. We have to do what we have to mark up. We have to get as much value for the Big 10 as possible. Then after that, we'll do what's right for the Big 12. We don't have a conference network with the Big 12. We know those Florida State Seminole fans are going to buy those subscriptions for the Big 10 network way more than Hurricane fans. We love the market of Miami. We'll take Miami if that's the scenario. But Florida State is higher on our list than Miami.
Okay, but are you interested in getting more of a percentage of the Big 12?
Well, Big 12 doesn't have a conference network. Oh, you talking about Tier 1, Tier 2, and Tier 3? No,
right.
We're good. We're good right now.
So you're not interested in selling off some of those games maybe to CBS or NBC?
I'm not sure that's possible. Well, NBC is not going to be interested, and I'm not sure it's possible with CBS. There might be some exclusive distribution rights between CBS and the Big Ten starting this year. I'm going to have
right.
to look.
I mean, yeah, they're exclusive windows for the Big Ten, but when they don't have a Big Ten game, you could sell them Big 12 games.
But they're going to have a Big Ten game every week this year. And
right.
we don't want, and I think there is something along the line of, I don't think CBS can get a primetime game to go against.
But they can.
I think there's an exclusive distribution contract between CBS and the Big Ten. I'll have to take a look at it after the show, but
I don't think that stops CBS from having CBS from having a Big 12 game on at noon.
Yeah,
or NBC having a 3:30 game. That's a Big 12.
I'll have to take a look at it.
Okay.
But
all right.
I'll take a look at it. How about that? That's the best I can do. I can't make any official agreements with you, ESPN, tonight, but maybe tomorrow.
I know this is a in progress thing, but as far as the money, I know Florida State would be crying about the money. Well, if we cancel the ACC contract, we got the money. So we'd have more money for the Big 12 schools. Because the schools are going to be left in the ACC, at max? They might get $15 million per school at max. So that's saving over $16 million right there from those schools.
No.
Plus we might not even want to have the ACC because we also got Sun Belt, and we got what's the other one we got? The Sun Belt's the biggie.
Yeah.
But all right, Eric.
All right,
I'll put that thought to you because I wasn't dragging it out of you, so I figured I had to give it to you.
Appreciate it.
All right, Eric.
Great call, Steve-O. Anthony Mazzano. Greg, I'm not sure if you're a pro football fan or not. I know you cover college, but what are your thoughts on the passing of Chris Mortensen? Mortensen has been around, he was one of the first guys, right? Inside information, NFL. He was the guy who had the literal Rolodex of all the owners of the teams, the agents, especially the agents. Always a class act. Sorry to see him go. My prayers to his loved ones, his families, for the passing of Chris Mortensen. He was a class act. He was one of the professional guys, right? He's one of the guys who didn't get caught up in the drama like some of the talking heads at ESPN nowadays amongst themselves, making a fool of themselves. Chris Morton wasn't about that. He was about the information that he was given for the NFL. Thank you, Anthony. Appreciate your comment there. Chris Mortensen, rest in paradise, Mr. Mortensen. Great call. Absolutely. Tony, Florida State's crunch, the ratings crunch Miami, not to mention attendance. And I'm not ripping on Miami. Great market. And again, in the Holy Smokes Theater, we have Miami in the first row, along with North Carolina State for two different reasons. Miami, they might be the right blend with the Florida State if Notre Dame doesn't get put loose. If Notre Dame doesn't pull loose from their independence in football. But between Florida State and Miami, it's Florida State for the Big Ten. The SEC is probably the same. But I think SEC, yeah, it's probably the same. When Miami is good, it becomes a phenomenon. Chris was a huge Arkansas baseball fan. They wrote a nice article about him. Thanks for letting me know, Jamie. Chris Mortensen. Chris' son played at Arkansas. Phone lines are open. 763-260-1333. Our web. Greg, he's correct. The exclusive agreement is Fox, CBS, NBC can't have Big Ten games against each other. I'll take a look. Thanks, our web. Sky wants Miami in the Big Ten. Hope it's Florida State 19, Miami 20. It could be. It very well could be. If the SEC has completely circled North Carolina away from the Big Ten, again, if you're new to our channel, or if you haven't done so yet, please hit the subscribe button, smash the like button if you like our content, share the video with your family and
Call
friends.
from
BJ.
I'm sorry, BJ? Is that BJ?
Yes.
All right, thanks for calling, sir. The floor is yours.
Happy Friday, Greg and the gang.
It's Thursday.
It's Friday in my mind.
Okay. All right.
So, yeah, I got a question for you. There was a lot of spark last week about the CFP talks and bids and this, that, and the third, and kind of died down. I'm curious to hear your thought process on where do you think it stands, and whether the legitimacy of them being the Power 2 wanting the buys in the first week of the playoffs.
Well, I don't think they're going to get those buys. I cannot imagine in a world that they would get those exclusive rights, the SEC and the Big Ten, to those buys. I think they're going to get something big besides that. In other words, they're going to get even more automatic qualifying spot, or like a fourth one, or they're going to get a bigger piece of the revenue pie that the playoff money makes. Either one of those. Don't think they're going to get those exclusive rights to the first round buys. And my take on the silence, on no leakage, as I said early in the show, my take, again, speculation. I think it's shared by others. But I think no leakage is probably a good sign, because nobody seems to be using the media for leverage, for whatever. I think that might be a good sign that there's nothing being talked about right now.
I think so too. I have a theory of the reason why I think the Power 2 came out with that ridiculous offer. I think it was a ploy to get blowback, right? To take auto bids out of the equation, right? Because if there's no auto bids and it's based off records and some committee ranking you, the CFP ranking you. I looked at the last 5 or 6 CFPs. At the very least, there was 8 Big 10 SEC teams in there. And I think if you go with completely no auto bids, they're going to get 4 to 5 teams in there each year based off, because their teams are ranked. They're going to play each other, and just by
playing tougher teams, you're going to be ranked higher.
Yep.
But that's just my theory. But thanks for having me on. I'll stay around a little bit longer, but I got to get the kids ready for bed.
You got it, BJ. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Have a good one.
Thank you, sir. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of talk, like BJ said, most years the SEC is going to get there for schools without automatic qualifiers. But I do believe that the SEC and the Big Ten, their media partners, wants to have some assurance each and every year. They don't even want to have a down year when it comes to their schools, the schools that they're paying the most money to, representing the SEC, the Big Ten. They want to make sure they get a lot of schools in there. Jamie Thornton, the SEC is pretty big on that bye, Greg. I will say this.
Call from
Crab Cakes and Football.
Crab Cakes and Football. Can you hold on 1 second?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. I will say this, Jamie. If the SEC and the Big Ten get an exclusive rights to the buys in a 14-team playoff, and if it happens where Miami Hurricanes go 13-0, the Oklahoma State Cowboys go 13-0, and the Big Ten and the SEC champions go 11-2, 10-3, and let's say in one, like Oklahoma State beat one of them in a non-conference game, and those and Oklahoma State, that 13-0 team, or Miami, I'm just giving examples, they don't get a bye. That would destroy the credibility of the playoffs. I think that whole exclusive rights, I think that's the SEC and the Big Ten reaching for something so high so that can be part of what they throw away when they get something else that they truly want. I find it impossible that the SEC and the Big Ten will get that exclusive rights for a bye. I think that goes against everything in competition. Everything. So they might be big on it, but I'm going to say, Jamie, that's what we do on this show. I'm going to lay it down. They're not going to get it. Crab Cakes and Football, Mr. Maryland Terrapin. What's on your mind? The floor is yours. Thank you for your patience.
Oh, no problem. Hey, how you doing today, Greg? Hey, Friday night games, I'm not a fan of them, obviously, although we've played Virginia last year on Friday night. It's just not a good look. I'm not really big into Friday nights. Keep that for the students in school who have, want to play the game and have their parents show up. And then Notre Dame, I think everybody realizes by now, and then it's going to move them to the Big Ten. It's going to be money. I don't even think the playoff will. I think it's all going to be about lawsuits, money, and NIL and that whole entire thing. But the one thing that I left you a message on X, I'm not sure if you got it or not, from Joel Klatt. Did you get that? I tagged you in it.
I'm not really. When was it?
Well, a couple of days ago when Joel Klatt put out a thing on YouTube, and I tagged you in it. At least I think I tagged you in it correctly. And so it was about him talking about the ridiculousness of the Big Ten and the SEC asking for that exclusive by everything else. And then he explained things about it that I've never even thought of before that make it, I'm still on the rocker about it, but it makes actually more sense than what it did before. Because it gives the Big Ten and the SEC championship game that much more favor because the winner of that game is going to get the bye.
Yeah.
And then and then it'll keep them from going to 16 because once you get that bye, they're not going to give up that bye to go to 16-game playoff. They're going to stay at the 14 if they get that bye.
Yes.
So
yeah,
then,
they're not going to get that bye.
I doubt they will.
I will. If they get that bye, I will come on this YouTube channel and I will take the biggest L in history. There's no way that the ACC and the Big 12 are going to acquiesce. And I know that the SEC and the Big 10 are the big bad wolves. I understand that. I get it. I've been the one that's been saying it. I get it. I've been the one that's been because I see comments out there saying, oh, Greg doesn't believe in the power two. I do, of course I do. I'm the one that said it. It was happening. But a power two where they break away from everybody, they have their own playoffs, not in 2026. Now, and just imagine, right out of the gate, 2000 and Joe Cladd is saying, yes, of course it would bring in more value to the Big Ten and the SEC championship games. It would bring less value to the ACC and Big 12 championship games. There's just no way that your Mark's going to say, okay, that's good. Okay, you can have exclusive rights. It's just not happening, ladies and gentlemen. I don't want to say, without getting my wife's permission, what I would do live if that happens. But you can think of certain things that maybe I can do. But anyway, it just isn't going to happen, sir. There's no way.
No. But did you hear his idea for the ACC and the Big 12? Let their championship game be the first round of the playoffs going into, to go, so that way that the ire and the TV eyeballs will be drawn to their games as the first round of the playoffs, instead of being the championship game and then the winner going to the playoffs. I don't know how, and I'm not trying to be a jerk, everybody. I'm not trying to be a jerk. I know you're not.
I don't know how that would, why would the ACC and the Big 12 want to eliminate one of their teams in the first round? I don't see how that would be acceptable either. I mean, the Big Ten and the SEC have more power. Of course they do. But it's not like, at some point, the Big 12 and the SEC the Big 12 and the ACC are going to call their bluff. And is the Big Ten and the SEC really ready to break away from everybody? I ask yourself that serious question. Is Sankey and Petiti ready to break away from everybody? Nah.
I can say the answer to that one's no, they're not.
Nah.
They have to get their anonymity or whatever that word is I'm looking for, and all kinds, and the government's in check.
They've got so many issues to deal with. You think they want to deal with that issue? No. 6 years from now, maybe, but not now. So, I think the Big Ten and the SEC are going to gain a lot out of this, but they're not going to get everything. And that is everything, having exclusive rights in the first round.
Now, do you think 4-4-2-2 will happen, or do you think it'll be 4-4-3-3?
It won't be 4-4-3-3. 4-4-2-2.
Yeah, but that don't work there, does it?
4-4-2-2 or 3-3-2-2. But the Big Ten and the SEC get a higher percentage of the distribution playoff pie. One of those two.
Huh. So.
Yeah.
But all right, Greg. Well, I really haven't been able to listen to to your show because I just got a brand new headphone set, so I was literally testing it out, calling you tonight.
Beautiful.
So I'll go back and listen to the show here in a little bit. But have a good night.
Beautiful. Thank you, sir. Thanks for the call.
All right. Have a good one.
Call me up. Let me know I am wrong. Let the fat guy from Minnesota tell him that he's wrong. Tell him that you believe the SEC and the Big Ten can grab an exclusive first round bye in the new playoffs. Let me know. Give me your logical explanation. And I will listen to it. I will keep an open mind as best as I possibly can. By the way, there is this thing for people outside the state of Minnesota. This is not, well, this is college football related. Okay? This is college football related. But it's only part of it. Very small part of it. The state of Minnesota, when it comes to sports, is cursed. I mean, the state there has not been a men's professional sports team in the state of Minnesota that has won a championship, a world championship in their sport since 1991. And the state of Minnesota has all the professional sports. All of them. All of them. The only professional sports that have won is the Minnesota Lynx, the women's NBA. Other than that, all the other men's and women since 1991. We have the longest streak by far of a state that hasn't had a professional. Here's the Minnesota Timberwolves. Now, be patient with me here. Minnesota Timberwolves, the worst NBA program 30 years. They got the best record in the Western Conference with Oklahoma City Thunder. And the news breaks today that Karl Anthony Towns is going to be out indefinitely, knee injury. Okay? So everybody in the state of Minnesota, happened again. The curse is alive. It happened again. Complete devastation. Complete devastation. The Timberwolves. Okay, now I'm doing a live show with you all. I'm doing a live show with you all. Right? Look at this. Look at this. Anthony Edwards. This just popped up 4 minutes ago. Anthony Edwards appears to have hurt his foot and is headed back to the locker room 26 seconds into the game. There is like this dark cloud hanging over the state. It is unbelievable. It is breathtakingly painful. Josie, Minnesota Wild, has given the Avs a hard time. The Minnesota Wild has never won the NHL Stanley Cup. The Minnesota North Stars, who I grew up, never won the NHL Stanley Cup. This is the state of hockey, for God's sakes. We produce more NHL players, way more than Michigan and Pennsylvania. Way more college players. We are the state of hockey. You've seen the Minnesota high school hockey championship videos. You see how the arenas are all stacked. You've seen them on Barstool Sports and other places. Every year, Minnesota high school hockey. The college, we have more money in college hockey than any state. It's not even close. And we can't win an NHL. And the Gophers get beat in the championship game every time. We can't win anything. And you ask why I'm so bitter. The fat guy from Minnesota. It is unbelievable. Edwards is the future of the NBA, Replica. Only if Anthony Edwards demands to get traded today. And then when the Timberwolves trade him, then he can flourish. then he can hit his ceiling. But as long as he plays with the Minnesota uniform on him, now, yes, yeah, absolutely. It's boys high school hockey tournament is going on as we speak. Anyways, that is my rant for the evening. Praise the Lord, Greg. Praise the Lord. You're absolutely right, Cornelius Green. Appreciate it. Herbeck and Kirby. It was a good run, team. I mean, we had one good year. No, 2 good years. 2 good years in 30 years. This was our second good year in 30 years. And it's injury. The Minnesota Twins, before last year, when they finally broke the streak, when they finally won a playoff game, the Minnesota Twins had the record for the most consecutive playoff losses in any history, anywhere, any professional sport. I think they lost 19 straight playoff games, smashing the previous record. The Minnesota Vikings, 0-4 in the Super Bowl. 0-4. Not just 0-4. They've never had the lead in any of those Super Bowls. That's a good point. Give the state of Ohio the Minnesota Vikings so we can win a Super Bowl. That's true. The Browns and the Bengals. It's just unbelievable. Just unbelievable. Better than my Lions. Okay, phone lines are open. 763-260-1333. I just had to post that because I saw it. And I mean, if you're new to the channel, hit the subscribe button. Please subscribe. We can come on live at any time. Breaking news. If there's breaking news late tonight or tomorrow morning in regards to the CFP negotiations, we're going to be covering it live. So you got to make sure you are subscribed and have your notifications on if you want to become an early peak member, where you can watch Cloak and Dagger early peak episodes, member only episodes. Go to the link provided in the description box and hit the join button.
Call from ABO Prep.
Soap is on the line. Soap, the floor is yours.
Thanks, Greg. I live walking distance from Rice University, and a lot of your viewers might not know a lot about Rice University, but it has a very small footprint, and it is actually adjacent to, could be considered inside the Texas Medical Center. Texas Medical Center is the largest medical center in the world. It has MD Anderson, which is the top cancer hospital, Texas Children's, which is the leading pediatric, and Rice University has the most prestigious biomedicine department in people consider the world, because it is part of the Texas Medical Center. There's 67 different institutions inside the Texas Medical Center. It's huge, biggest in the world. Nothing bigger than the Texas Medical Center. So Rice University has never had a lot of interest in football, baseball, basketball. Baseball, by hands down, is the most followed sport at Rice, but it's never been really big. It was back in the 50s and early 60s, but currently the only people who are interested in it are the students and so forth.
Yeah.
So when they decided not to be part of Big Ten, we weren't really surprised by that, because the only interest in the baseball part of Rice Baseball is not interested in the Big Ten playing, the teams in the Big Ten. What they're interested in is qualifying for the College World Series. They take that very serious. That is their season, qualifying for the College World Series, and they have actually won a national championship. It's been about 25 years or so. But I just kind of wanted to, bring people up to par with what goes on at Rice. It is probably the most prestigious university in the Southern United States, and it's the most difficult to get into. It's very, very. I mean, you gotta have like a 1600. It's on par with Northwestern, Harvard, Stanford. It's the South top educational institution. So there's not a lot of interest in sport, and they're okay with that. If I can pivot, that's okay, Greg?
Yep.
All right. Kind of want to talk about the future of the ACC. The future of the Big 12 and SEC. And you and I have kind of talked about this in the past, but you said earlier that you don't suspect that any major changes will be made before 2026. And I have to ask you,
for what?
By 2026, that there won't be these two major conferences by 2026.
Breaking off to where they don't have. Okay, let me make it clear. I don't think by 2026 the Big Ten and the SEC will break off and have their own playoffs with each other. That's what I mean.
Right. Well, I my question for you is, what's going to happen to the ACC, in your opinion? What's going to happen to the ACC between now and 2026?
Boy, I wish I could tell. I wish I could tell you how that court case is going to go.
Well, you think Florida's going to be part of? Florida's going to be out of the ACC?
I would lean yes, but I don't know that for sure. I would lean. I don't. Look, this in the court, it could be ruled that Florida State, that the Gore is valid, and that the ACC doesn't even have to agree with this settlement. We don't know how this is going to go, but how I'm looking at it, the people I talk to, especially who are 20 times smarter than I am, they think that there probably going to be an opportunity for Florida State to settle, to get out of there, to get out of the ACC. So I would put it at more than 50% probability that Florida State will be out of the ACC for the 2026 season.
Okay. Yeah. Do you think that if Florida State's out, how about Clemson?
I don't know. The odds drop a little bit. But, 2027, I would, boy, there's a lot of variables in there. But I see where you're going. The ACC could implode and lose 2, 3, 4 of their top brands. No question about it.
Well, I think if they lose 2, 3, 4 of their top brands, they're going to lose 8 of them. Okay. And if that happens, here's what I think. I'm reading tea leaves now, Greg. Yeah. I think you could have, like everybody's been talking about, these 2 divisions. Once you and I talked about, like, the equivalent of the old AFL and the NFL, the AFC and the NFC, where you have 24 teams. The several of the old ACC teams and the Big 12 teams would be part of the SEC and the Big 10. But then the remaining teams, or you could say remaining teams, but you could segregate it into a 12-team division that would be a lower division, call it the Big 12 if you want, that would play their own games and would serve as a feeder for the two big divisions almost as a relegation. Now, I know you don't like the idea of relegation, but there has been talk about how are they going to get rid of Vanderbilt? How are they going to get rid of Northwestern and bring in teams that are much more competitive? Well, this is how you do it.
I get it, and I respect your take on it. But I'm not buying any talk that anyone's trying to get rid of Northwestern or Vanderbilt. I'm not buying any of that.
You wouldn't be getting rid of them. You wouldn't be getting rid of them. They would move down to a division that they're much more competitive.
No, Northwestern's not building an $800 million football stadium to be regulated. Then none of that is going to happen. I understand.
Good point.
Look, I understand. Look, I love the speculation, but when you ask me the question, which you did, I'm going to have to shoot it to you straight. There's no serious talk of any of that happening.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Well,
yeah.
It seems like there. I'm trying to get the number to 60. I think 60 is the number of teams that for major college football, and that sure works out where you have 24, and then you have the lower division of 12, where you can move up and down between those, stay for a year and then go back up. But I think the main thing, Greg, is I think I would have never predicted when I first started talking to you, my friend, that we would be where we are right now. It was so far-fetched that things would change like this, that players would be getting paid and so forth. I couldn't have imagined that it would change so quickly. So I wouldn't be surprised if these changes do happen before the 26th season, that there's some major realignment to the conferences. And that's my main point. And I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to talk with you. And it's always a pleasure to hear your voice.
You got it. I appreciate it. I love your phone calls, sir. Please call again.
You bet. Best to your family, please.
You too. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Great call by Soap. I have to put it to you guys straight. I mean, episode 1 of this channel, I talked about collective bargaining agreement, players getting higher compensated and pay, student athletes, the players getting representation. We were the ones who broke the USC call of the Big Ten. I talked about Washington, Oregon. It was those two. It wasn't going to go to the East, Southeast first. The Big Ten was going to go to the West first. I talked about Colorado. We put the odds on February 24th, 2023 that favored the Big 12 from poaching the Pac-12. We never changed it. They were always the favorite. I got raked over the coals. I'm trying to make a point here.
Call from
JD.
JD, can you hold 1 second?
Yes, sir.
So I'm trying to make a point. Everything we've said, look, and we don't say it lightly. There has to be a lot of buzz in the air. I got to be told stuff so I can tell you guys. When I say that I haven't heard anything about any serious, true, any indication at all about the SEC and the Big Ten are making plans to break away from everybody else for 2026 season, nobody has had a conversation with me on that. Nobody. Now, maybe they're all off the beaten path. Maybe they're all being blinded. That could be. But I'm telling you, nobody is telling me this. Just like nobody told me about regulation. Remember when I'm going to give you an example. JD, I just need 1 more minute here.
Oh, you take all the time. It's your show, boss man.
I'll give you guys an example. And I love the speculation, but I feel like I disappoint you all when I put the brakes on something. The whole idea of 8 ACC schools, the dissolution theory, that they could vote out, that they could close up the conference, and suddenly they can escape the ACC grant of rights. I brought it up for people to speculate on it, but I reported to you over and over again. No, that's not how this is going to go. No, the gore would not evaporate if they did that. It has to be beaten in court as settlement. It's not going to work. That isn't what they're going to do. You know, I said no 1,000 times on it. And it isn't what they're going to do. It isn't part of the game plan. But on the other hand, PATC community, I promise you, if I wake up tomorrow morning, if the good Lord lets me wake up tomorrow morning, March 8th, and we get news that everything imploded, that the Big 12 and the ACC said, you can shove it up, you know what, we're out of here. We're not taking this stuff. The SEC and the Big Ten says, okay, we're gone, we're splitting away from everybody. If that happens, I'll be the first one on here to take the L, put my clown mask on, and we can have a great time. We can have a great show. But it ain't going to happen. It just is not going to happen. JD, the floor is yours. Mr. Seminoles, how you doing, sir?
Good, sir. How about yourself?
I'm doing good. I'm doing better and better every day. Doing good.
Well, that's good. Hey, don't ever feel like you're raining on anybody's parade because people have, and I'm not saying, you know, people are wrong or you're wrong or right. What I'm saying is, and I'm not talking about a specific issue, okay? I'm talking about, I find you to be very reliable. You don't focus on getting clicks or just getting viewers. You focus on getting the story right, or like you say in your YouTube channel name, peek around the corner. You're more than happy to present a rumor, but you're more or less going to let folks know, hey, this is just a rumor, okay? It's not verified, but this is a rumor, or this is what people are saying. There's a lot of folks on Twitter and other social media platforms that will present something as fact, and 2 days later will completely change it and don't acknowledge it. Like you talk about, they don't take the L, they don't do any of that. So I'm very appreciative as one of your subscribers that when you talk about something, I feel like I'm getting good information. You know, that's why I'm listening every day. You know,
well,
and I like it, and I like to interact with you because there's so much garbage out there. I don't know what's real and what's not. You know, there's times that I call in and I'm asking questions because I don't know. That's one of the reasons I called in was, you know, that's concerning the Big 12. I am going to discuss the ACC, but concerning the Big 12. Do you have great contacts in the Big 12? Do they want to move to 20? Do they want to expand to 20? Do they want to expand to 22 or 24? You know, that's the thing is when we talk about what's going to happen with the ACC, I'm not 100% certain how big the other conferences want to get. You know, and for the ACC to implode, which we assume it will, there still has to be a place for the valuable brands to go. And, you know, do we know there's a home outside of the ACC? And we think so. You know, as far as FSU goes, in some of your conversations earlier, you know, President McCullough, he's not putting out those little stories. You know, he's not. Those posts aren't just by happenstance. You know, he's you know, he's setting out the message. I mean, FSU has really big plans. There's a lot of research dollars prepared to be spent down here, not just in the university, but things associated with the university and in the Florida Panhandle in general. From what I've heard, the state of Florida would prefer FSU to go to the SEC or to the Big Ten. There's reasons for that. You know, I talked to you a few weeks ago about FSU media. You know, Jeff Cameron, he was kind of hinting around on his show today that he just long believed that FSU would eventually just go to the SEC, and as of today, he doesn't think so. He thinks
Yeah.
FSU's going to the Big Ten, and so everybody's fine with it. It's just we're getting to the point where we don't even know how many more seats are at the Power 2 table. You're not going to sit here and be cute and try to, play both sides. It's time to grab a seat.
Yeah.
And FSU, I think, has made I think they've made their decision. They're going to the Big Ten, and the relationship with the SEC is just, or excuse me, with ESPN. It's not great, and we all know that. But I don't know. But going back to my original question for you, I mean, sorry, I went off on a little bit of a rant there, or rambling. I'm sorry, but what does the Big 12 want? I mean, do they want to expand anymore? And how big do they want to go?
Well, they're not going to go west. They're going to go east. They're going to add whatever makes them more stable, more valuable, what adds valuable to their media partners, ESPN and Fox. So, they have gamed this out. They were gaming it out when they were going after Pac-12 schools. The Big 12's number one goal was to be in the room, and they are in the room. They have built up their, Pac-12 doesn't exist. And when it exists again, it's going to be a G5 conference. It's not going to have as much value as the Big 12. Brett Yormark hit a grand slam. And if the opportunity is there for him to pick up a couple East Coast schools, and I think that opportunity might arrive for him, then they're going to do it. I don't think there's a certain number. I think it's a certain, you got to play it, how it falls to him. But I don't think the Big 12's done growing. Now, a lot of it is determined, JD, by what number Florida State can, what number is the settlement number between Florida State and the ACC. Because if the number is really high, then the advantages, then it gets more difficult for Yormark to poach from the ACC. Because the differential, it just becomes more difficult. So it depends on the settlement number and how many schools do leave for the Big Ten and the SEC out of the ACC. So Yormark has to kind of wait to see what the conditions are. But yeah, I don't think the Big 12's done expanding. And they want to be part of if it becomes a P3 and a G7 football world, well, they want to make sure they are the third of the P3. And if they are, that's cool with them.
Well, the thing that, nobody can really put a finger on what's going to happen with the ACC. I mean, we assume it's going to implode, but at the same time, we have this repetitive conversation that where are all these teams going to go because we don't know for sure. The ACC was always, basketball was number one. Mm-hmm. They loved the FSUs and the Clemsons because they made the majority of the money, but basketball was their priority. And then Olympic sports. But look at this year. The ACC, what they're talking about getting maybe two or three teams into the tournament.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's going away. Their basketball pool is going away. So, there's going to get to be to a point where teams that would have wanted to just stay in the ACC are now going to be like, well, basketball's our gig, but what are we doing here? Mm-hmm. And I don't know. Like I said, I'm when it comes to ACC implosion, I'm asking more questions because for every assumption that I have, there's ample evidence to go the other direction, but they all contradict each other. And When some people talk about ESPN holds all the cards, I think they do. They hold all the cards for the majority of the teams other than FSU. And they hold the cards for FSU and to make it easier. But I think FSU is gone. One is, we've talked about this, no judge is going to make FSU pay $500 million to get out of the ACC. But if a judge said you're going to pay $375 million, FSU is going to pay it. And I don't think it'll ever be that much. But I'm just saying, whatever the amount is, they're leaving.
No.
But yeah, I'm trying to get some more clarity, because it's just, everything is contradicting, itself.
My
Go ahead,
my question is, and I've wondered if you've heard anything through Jeff, watching Jeff Cameron or reading all the stuff you read. We know that that the case in Mecklenburg County Court is March 22nd. We know Leon County is April 9th. I would love to know, and I'm not going to be able to find out, but I would love to know if there is an anticipation of anything else happening between Florida State and ACC in regards to filing more motions against each other before that March 22nd case, or has both sides said everything that they're going to say in heading towards that court date? That's what I would like to know. And of course, I would also like to know, have they actually met on a possible settlement? I have no information that they have, but I would say that at least it's a possibility, JD, because of what Florida State, the language they used in their second to the last complaint when they talked about, commercial, basically given the green light that maybe they would be open to settling with Florida State. Those two questions, have they met yet for a settlement? We're not going to be able to find that out. Number two, is there going to be some more action between the two before that March 22nd date in Mecklenburg County?
I have to look at the filings on who filed what and responses and everything else. It seems like there's one more due for FSU, but I'm not thinking about which one. Seems like the ACC's filed one additional response other than FSU, but it seemed, I don't know. FSU filed it's like two in a row, one in each state, and then the ACC's filed, I think, two, one in each state. So we might be all caught up as far as that goes. I'm really not certain. I know there were some of the rumors about some of the salacious stuff that FSU had on the ACC, but those same people that were talking about that just said that they've got some goods on the ACC and ESPN, but they really don't want to use it because there'd be a lot of collateral damage for everybody involved. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's just not worth. That is the absolute worst case scenario, and even if you're the innocent party, you're still going to have a lot of dirt on you. So it just, it'll splash back on you. They make it sound like it just wouldn't be good for college football to bring that stuff up, and I don't know how accurate any of that is. That was just some of those rumors coming out were just like FSU really just doesn't want to bring all that out if they don't have to. So I have a feeling that as has been discussed before, once we get venue, once venue is decided, I think that's when negotiations really heat up. I think venue decides how much the settlement will be. Unless the ACC really doesn't have anything to hide, but they sure are fighting to keep things private. So I would assume there's things that they just don't want known. So we'll see. But I'll look into that, and if I find anything out, I'll I'll DM you or something like that. But anyway, but
Appreciate
all
it.
right, sir. Thank you for the time.
Thank you so much, JD, Mr. Seminole.
Have a good night.
Great call once again. I apologize, Steve-O. You might have had the super chat up for a while. I apologize. Can Notre Dame join the Magnificent Seven to dissolve the ACC? Notre Dame contracted to join ACC. If joining the conference, one, we don't believe in that dissolution theory. The Gore would still be intact. It just wouldn't work. So we don't believe that. Notre Dame is contracted to join the ACC if join the conference. Unless they pull all their sports out of the ACC, then they can join the Big Ten. And we think eventually that's going to happen. So no, and Notre Dame wouldn't have to join the ACC if they pulled all their sports out of the ACC. Heather Dinich confirmed that on ESPN a couple different times over. You can Google that. Don't believe in that in the dissolving theory. Thank you, Steve-O, for your generosity, your incredible phone calls. Very creative PATC member. Holy smokes. I love when you call. Thank you, Steve-O. Thank you for the super chat. I appreciate it. Brickbait. Brickbait is a new member. Early P Cloak and Dagger member. Holy smokes. Thank you so much, Brickbait. Thank you for your generosity to this channel. You are hereby, Brickbait, Cloak and Dagger Knighted. Congratulations, sir. You can watch the early peak. Again, if you want to be a member, go to the description box, just like what Brickbat did. Hit the link, hit the join button. And you can become an early peak member. I appreciate it, Brickbat. I appreciate all you guys joining us today. Just one more look around the park here to see if Art Powers, I think the idea of Florida State has something on the ACC is rubbish, or at least anything that would stand up in court. First question is whether the Gord case will be enlarged to include every team. Friends call me Sean. Don't be surprised if you hear Lane Kiffin's name come up in the Florida's head coaching job. I would agree with you on that, friends call me Sean. If Lane Kiffin, he's going to have another good year at Ole Miss. I think you bring up a pretty good point. Pretty good. Be legends out there, my friends. Beautiful. Brickbat, thank you so much. Yeah, again, we've talked a lot here on tonight's show, but the Dartmouth case, NLRB versus Dartmouth, that affects everybody. It's affecting the Ivy League schools. Now, just Dartmouth, but it's going to spread, and it could spread all over the land, especially the NLRB versus USC, NCAA, and Pac-12. But the school that this all could affect the most is Notre Dame, as we were told here at Peek Around the Corner, because at some point there's going to be negotiations between a union and a conference. Union versus a conference. A conference representing a whole bunch of university gives a little bit more leverage, more stability to the conference. Conference versus the representation of the student athletes versus what Notre Dame is going to have to do. collective bargaining agreement between a university versus a union is just another log on the fire. Just the walls are closing in just a little bit more on Notre Dame trying to keep their football program as an independent. It's going to get more and more difficult. We have covered everything here tonight. I appreciate you all coming on in. Please, if you haven't done so, hit the subscribe button, smash the like button, share the video with your family and friends, and please open up your notifications. We could come on later tonight. We could come on live later tonight, early tomorrow morning, sometime during the lunch hour. We're keeping an eye. We keep a poking and a prodding. We're keeping an eye on the college football playoff negotiations. The time is ticking. The walls are squeezing in on that as well. They've got to get something done here. They got 2 weeks and a few more days. They've got to get something done, or ESPN could pull the offer. Then everything goes pear-shaped. So stick with us here at Peek Around the Corner as we cover everything in college football, because we love everything in college football. Until next time, from all of us at PATC to all of you, please, you all take great care of each other. Thank you.